back to the second half of our session this afternoon. I hope you enjoyed the first half. It was fabulous. Loved that relaxed style. We are in for a treat now. Our next 35 minutes, we will have a Judy Jody duo. Who would think that we should have such names? But I won't say one more word because I want to hear from these two people. Over to them.
Firstly, I think we need to give Jody a big round of applause. As our representative in the regional, you had the regional finals, for winning the regional finals and being in the semi-finals in Anaheim. So now I'm going to ask Jody a few questions about that experience, and I'm sure you'll learn a lot from Jody's experience as well. But Jody, there would be people here who are unfamiliar with the whole progression from class. So can you fill everybody in on how you got there?
Yeah, well, firstly, thank you so much for showing up today. I'm very honoured to be part of District 73. It honestly is like a family, and to represent you all was an absolute life-changing experience. So thank you for being here online as well. So how it works is the international contest is the only contest that goes beyond the district level. And so there's the club level, the area level, the division level, the district level. And if we win at the district level, our video, so it's not live, but our video gets sent to the regional quarterfinals. And essentially they choose two people from the regional quarterfinals to go in person to wherever it is in the world, to the conference to represent their region, their country, their district. And they choose two to go to the semi-finals. And then there's 28 out of about 30 to 35,000 people could be worldwide. They get to the top 28 in the semis, and then from the top 28 into 4 different groups, and 2 in each group go through to the finals, which becomes the top 8 in the world. Yeah, it's a big journey.
So it's a long way, that's for sure. And Jody, we had Norman Lingwood video our contest here at the May conference, and I have looked at them, and they are brilliant videography. Everybody looks so beautiful. And do you know exactly how many districts winners were disqualified because the video was not of the standard required?
I don't know exactly how many, but I did talk to one of the main qualifying judges, or whatever you want to call him, that did go and watch through all the videos to make sure the quality was okay. And he did say that quite a few were disqualified. And even some were disqualified because the whole video wasn't there. The video stopped 3/4 of the way through, and it was a video that wasn't maybe audible. And that breaks my heart, because knowing, as a contestant, like how much effort goes in, but also how the district believes in us and, wants us to get there, and all the effort that goes in for everyone, for the video quality to not be good enough or regional. Yeah. It's heartbreaking. So.
Would be. I heard there were about 6 to 8 districts at least whose contestant was not able to proceed.
Yeah.
Which is very disappointing.
And some big speakers too, like, real ones that could have gone all the way. So,
can you share with everybody why you participate and keep participating?
Oh my goodness. I would recommend for anyone to participate in contests. I've learned more about myself in contests than I think in nearly every area of my life, I swear. It's led me to be really humble. When I joined Toastmasters, I was still quite young and a bit egoic in the way I approached contests. And I think I underestimated the amount of effort it was going to take to get to the semi-finals. And so it was a journey that humbled me, but it was also a journey that showed me parts of myself that I hadn't yet really seen. It made me go deep into, well, if I could share one message before I passed away, like what would that be? And can I bring that type of energy to the message I want to share on the world stage? And it really, it was really a deep journey. So it's a bit of a soul-searching journey contest, especially when we're doing it time and time again and not maybe getting through certain levels. It's like, okay, well, how can I develop my skill? How can I go deeper with this skill? How can I tell a story that's even more unique? And so it really does require a lot of courage. And I think that's been one of the biggest takeaways, is realizing that I have the courage to keep going, even when I really wanted to quit many times. But it's actually the community that keeps me going, because I'm like, you know what, I have so much support. And, you know, David is from Flinders Lane. He was the first person I talked to when I joined Toastmasters. And just all that love and encouragement was like, well, I'm not going to give up, because I have other people that I want to make proud as well. So that's what I love about Toastmasters and competing in the contests. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I did see that at Anaheim too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And can you share your history as a competitor with everyone here?
Yeah, I joined Toastmasters 6 years ago. I actually joined for Melbourne in my charity efforts that we were doing in Nepal. We actually wanted to join efforts of Toastmasters. We were doing contests for women to speak up about their rights in their developing, you know, regions. And then I joined with that mindset, like I'm going to come in more for partnership and, you know, being inspired and all of that. And then I went to the club and David was like, we're doing a contest today and we're doing table topics and you're going to participate. And I didn't even know what table topics was, but I did participate. And that was one of the first moments where I was like, oh my gosh, I actually really can show up in a moment, especially when I wasn't planning to do anything. And it gave me a lot of courage. And I won club and then area and then division and then one district all in the first year of joining Toastmasters, which really blew my mind. But as a younger version of me, that also led me to be maybe a little bit egoic of like, oh, okay, it's going to be easy to get to the semi-finals then too, which it definitely was not. But yeah, essentially that was the journey of winning that. Then David was like, you've got to do evaluations now. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I was doing evaluations and I ended up winning district as well and was like, oh, okay, so maybe I can do international contests. All right. And then had the courage to do that. So it was a journey. And a lot of world champions who win in the world, they actually were first district winners. So if anyone wants to compete in the international, it's really great to compete in the other categories too, humorous, evaluations, all table topics. Yeah.
They all grow you as a speaker,
yeah,
don't they?
100%.
But there's a bit more history that you haven't shared though, because you've been in the semi-finals before.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that's true. 2 years ago, Judy actually and Kevin were in the audience of the Australian flag and I was in Nashville. So, yeah, 2 years ago, after being in Toastmasters for 4 years, I got to the semi-finals as well. So that was amazing.
Yeah, it was. It certainly was. And that was a very different contest because part of a number of the contestants were on Zoom.
Yeah, it was hybrid.
It was a hybrid one. Yeah, very different. So I'm glad we're back to 100% in person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, is it an expensive activity at this level of the contest?
So, look, people can win and get to the finals and even the semi-finals and such without having any coaching that they invest in. And I would say Toastmasters is one of the most affordable speaking, communities I've ever come across. It's amazingly affordable. So I wouldn't say it is if they're not getting extra coaching, but there are a lot of world champs or finalists or semi-finalists who do go and pay for extra coaching from world champs or other coaches. So I've worked with 4 people who've been either world champs or in the semis or in the finals, and they've given me all different perspectives and different tools, and they've all got their own unique, energy. So that has accumulated to quite a lot of an investment over the years. But it is worth it because it's not just, I'm investing in this particular speech because I want that speech to win. I'm investing in growing. So when I detach from it being about winning, then the investment's worth it. But it can add up. And it just depends on how much people want to spend on coaching.
But it's not only just the coaching.
That's right.
Yeah. When you get there.
Yes. So
all the additional expenses.
To be honest, just to let everyone know who do want to compete, if you do get to the semi-finals, I budgeted about $5,000 minimum. That was because the flights are covered, but accommodation and food and anything else is all for us to invest in. Yeah. So I usually save money to make sure I have that, for that.
Yeah. So. And you can't just fly in the day before.
No, that's right.
It just doesn't work that way. You have to acclimatise yourself, make sure you're well rested.
Yeah, I fly in minimum 5 days if I can. If I can do a week, amazing. But minimum 5 days before the contest, I'll fly in. Yeah. Because I'm very much like David. I'll wake up at 3 a.m, get changed, be like, let's go.
And how did you come up with your message for this year's speech, listening to your inner child?
Yeah. So the 2 years that I got through to the semi-finals, my speeches came through my dreams. And I'm a very spiritual person, and I sent out, an intention that I wanted my speech to come to me from a way that wasn't just me sitting down with pen and paper and going, what do I want to talk about? And both times I woke up and I went, I know what my speech is going to be and I'm going to get to the semi-finals. And the year that I didn't get to the semi-finals, I didn't have that. I didn't wake up and think this is it. And the other year either. So the 2 years that I did wake up and had the topic and just channeled it all and wrote it all down were the 2 years that I knew I was going to get through and I did get through.
Wow.
So yeah, and the inner child conversation was, it was very much from my subconscious, but when I sat with it, I realized it was a topic that had not been spoken on the international stage. I'd watched now maybe hundreds of semi-finals, finals, and winning speeches, and no one had spoken specifically about the inner child and about essentially the younger version of ourselves. And I thought, how can I bring something that I find is really important in what I do in coaching, but in a way that can connect to a wider audience? And so I brought that in with Toastmasters.
I'm going to be talking to myself before I go to bed. Well, that's amazing. That is incredible. Yeah. Now the ride can be stressful, can't it? And how do you manage that anxiety and stress?
Yeah, I have a lot of tools in my toolkit. I teach as a living too, so that's always a plus because I have a lot of tools that I've learned over the years. If I can choose three, one of them is that I have a soundtrack for myself. I literally have a soundtrack of 4 different categories. I have a soundtrack that starts with just music that helps me to just be mindful and come into my presence. And then I have songs that make me really sad or release emotion, because with fear and anxiety, I know there's emotion there, so then I'll release that. And then I have songs that empower me, like, real powerful women empowerment songs, other things, and I'll get up in my hotel room and be like, yeah. And then I'll have songs that are very calming at the end. And I go through that process the days leading up to the contest. So if there's any emotion that's stuck in my body, I can release it, and then I can come back into my calm and come back into my presence so I can deliver the best speech. So soundtracks are amazing to connect to ourselves and to get into the vibe we want to present the speech in. Number 2 is I do this thing called non-linear movement, because essentially it's kind of like stretching, but in a non-linear way. So stretching in a way that if I feel like there's energy stuck in my shoulder, I'll move my shoulder. And what happens with our body is we store a lot of anxiety and fear in our body, in our cells, in our tissue. And so when I'm moving the body and I'm releasing that, when I finally get on stage, I'm loose. Like not only, in my energy, but I'm like physically actually open. And so I can really speak on the stage and feel like I'm not being held back. So I do a lot of physical practices like that. And the third one is to not have jet lag as much as possible. I will always arrive at least 5 days beforehand, if not a week, because I've talked to other finalists or semi-finalists who arrived the day before, and I can just see that they're struggling so much. And I'm still struggling, but I'm still jet lagged after 5 days. And I just think if I get that far, it's like might as well just make it work with that coming sooner.
Yeah. Well, what comes across to me is you are a very intentional person. I just get up and do. I don't think about it. You're there with doing it all, thinking about it.
Yeah.
What did you learn from the other competitors?
I've learned a lot from other competitors over the years. I think the thing in general that I've learned is that having studied so many final speeches and semi-final speeches and other things, like there is no formula. There is no set formula that would lead the person to winning in the world finals or getting to the finals. And so what I've learned from other contestants is that the ones that got through, I really felt like they owned their unique voice. Like they either were a calmer speaker and they're a bit more relaxed and they'll own that. That's their style and they won't divert from that. Or if they're a bit more, kind of like expressive and they've got a more powerful voice that comes out, they'll own that. So something I had to learn over the years is not to compare myself and be like, well, can I be more like this or more like that? It was like, okay, well, who do I want to be? Because at the end of the day, we'd rather not place knowing we gave our all and we were the most authentic version of us than place knowing we were trying to be someone else. And so they've really taught me, the other contestants taught me just to be authentic. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Everyone approaches the semis differently. How did you practice and prepare for that semi-final?
Yeah. So, this is a funny thing. The day after we finished the semi-finals, Melvin was like, I feel like I've heard your speech so many times, I could rehearse it to you. And I was like, okay, why don't you do that? So he got up and he, word to word, at least the whole first third of the speech, action to action, word to word, he performed it a lot more dramatic than I did. But I couldn't believe it up. So that gives you an idea how many times I practiced it. But I practiced a lot. I was up to version 35 of the speech itself and then practiced maybe over 100 times. However, on the days leading up to the contest, I won't over practice. because I really feel that takes away the authentic expression and on the day, and it becomes too robotic. So I'm very aware that, I practice, I make sure I remember it all, the hand gestures are there, the vocal tonality, the use of stage, like all those elements. However, leading up to the contest, it's all about the heart. So it's like, how can I not over practice so when I'm giving it, it feels new and it feels fresh. Yeah.
So do you get to the stage where you know every word, where you have to be when you say that, what gesture you have to give at that point? Do you know all of that? Yeah, you've got it down to that fine art. Yeah. So then you've got to wipe off the polish to make it natural. Yeah.
That's it. It's literally like, you have the idea, you write it out, then you concise the speech, get a version after version after version until it's the version that we want. And then it's, okay, now I've got to remember the speech. Then after remembering it, it's practicing it. And then it's, what do I do as a hand gestures, stage use, voice tonality, modulation. And then it's too polished, because then it's like, and now I'm walking over here, and now I'm doing this action. And so then it's like, okay, now I've got to come back again. Why did I originally write this speech? Come back to what inspired me to write it, and then deliver it like it's new. So it's quite a journey, but it's worth it because it's such an incredible skill to have in life. Yeah.
And are there things that you don't do in that preparation and practice, like taking advice from people?
Yeah, I will not change a speech if I can help it at least a week to 2 weeks before the contest, because that's just too much anxiety to add on to the anxiety. So I'll often make it a week before, no changes. And I'm very mindful leading up to the contest that I'm not on social media. Like, I'm not responding to messages or to emails or other things, because that just gets a reactive energy. So I just stay in my zone. Yeah.
I have heard of a person who took advice the night before the World Championship and went overtime by a couple of seconds.
Yeah. Try to avoid that.
Yes. Oh my gosh, let me tell them. So they had the briefing, and I was at the briefing with you because I was doing a helping hands role, and I asked Jody what position she'd drawn for the semi-final, and she did a Judy and she got number 1. No, but Jody wasn't. Tell everybody how you dealt with it.
I mean, at the end of the day, I've got to make the most of whatever hand gets dealt, right? And I actually was grateful, because I realized if I go first, I can sit down and relax and watch all the other speakers. And in this level of contest, it's not as easy going outside and coming back in. Whereas at district, we can maybe go outside, come back in when it's our turn to speak. But at semis, I don't think they really let people in and out as much. So I knew I'd have to sit there. And if I was the last speaker, that is almost up to an hour of sitting there watching other speakers do amazing jobs and going, oh my gosh, I'm next. So being the first speaker was actually amazing, because then after that I just did the best speech I could have delivered, and now I get to enjoy all the other amazing speeches, and so I made the most of that.
Yeah, that was a great attitude to have, Jody. I really admire you for that. Thank you. Now the rules require that you have a different speech in the semi-finals than you've had at the semi-finals previously.
Yeah.
And then had you proceeded to the World Championship, you would have had to have another speech as well. And part of that is you have to give an outline to the qualifying judges of that speech, those speeches that you've given. So those judges sit in the audience and they make sure that Jody's new speech is substantially different to that. So how did you manage with that?
So the first time, 2 years ago, when I got to Nashville, and they were saying there were so many documents to fill out before going that I didn't realise. So I was like, oh my gosh, so much to organise. And this one often tripped up a lot of semi-finalists, which is, we've got our speech, but they're asking for, in minimal dot points, what is the essence of the beginning, the intro, what are the main points of the middle, and what is the conclusion? And this is something I learned from that first experience 2 years ago in Nashville, was that we know our speech, but if we were to summarize just a few points, like what would they be? What would be the main points? Like how could we summarize it to just a few, major themes? And so that taught me that this year I need to be more prepared. And so now every time I write a speech, I think about, well, if I could summarize this in one sentence, what would it be? If I could summarize the intro as one sentence, what would it be? Because a lot of semi-finalists spend a lot of time thinking, like, oh my gosh, how do I do this? But then I didn't realize that I needed to send through the Nashville one this year again to make sure that my current speech was not the same as the one 2 years ago at the semi-finals. So that was just me going on my laptop and looking frantically for my old document, which I found. So that was good. But yeah.
It is a bit scary, because I met one of the contestants who had never written his speech. There was nothing in writing at all. So he was an absolute flat, having to write this summary to present to the judges beforehand. So
Yeah.
if you're going to proceed to the semi-finals multiple times, make sure you write down.
And if you get to it multiple times, keep the past copies.
Yes, that's right. Who's your favourite speaker in the Toastmasters field?
In Toastmasters, I know who it is in general. You, Judy. I still want to hear that speech back in the 90s that you told me about.
Oh, yeah. The flatulence.
Yeah, so, and I would also say Verity Price as well.
Okay.
Because Verity Price is one of those speakers that really showed me how important it is to be authentic. And Toastmasters was beginning to go down the path of being a little bit more theatrical in some of the presentations, and it felt a little less hard and more just, this is my action, this is this and that. And her speech, I remember watching and going, now that's really her heart there. And she's been an incredible support for me too, and being able to help me to calm my ego and really be authentic. So, yeah.
She's worthwhile watching, isn't she?
Yeah, she's awesome.
She was the 2021 world champion.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
Yeah, great speaker. I know why you like her.
Yeah.
Well, you've talked about how long you've been in Toastmasters, 6 years. I mean, some of the people there at, where were we, Anaheim?
No, you've gone to 17 now, so.
Yeah. Some of them had only been in Toastmasters for just a little under 2 years, and they were up there in the World Championship. It's just mind-blowing, isn't it, that people can get that far?
Yeah.
As you did in your first year.
Yeah, well, I mean, with the tabletop fix, it took me 4 years to get to the semis, for the international. But this is the thing. This is why I've had people come up to me and go, I'm going to wait a few years and then I'm going to go for it. And I was like, no, like go for it now, because the learning experience in those years will then, when they think they were going to start, would be the time maybe they get through, because they've learned from all those years. So there's never a perfect time to start. Yeah.
Oh. And everybody's journey is different, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You know, some's really fast and others, like Jock Elliott.
Yeah.
28 years, I think it took Jock Elliott to do that. To you just don't give up.
No.
You keep on going.
That's cool.
Yeah. Ah, yes. After the World Championship, there was an interview with first, second and third place. And Aaron Beverley interviewed them. I was sitting next to Jody, and Jody has a little gold book, and she took some notes in that gold book.
Melbourne.
Yeah. Maybe you could open it up. What kind of notes were you taking there?
So even after, years of speaking and competing, I'm always wanting to hear perspectives of the people who get to the finals, semi-finals, their journey. So when they were doing the interview, I just thought I'd love to hear how did they prepare? How did they choose their topics? How did they essentially create their speech in a way that did get them to that level? And so I was really just noting down all those kind of key pieces. And there's a lot of themes that are the same. Like once I hear a lot of the different speakers, and especially the finalists give their interviews, a lot of the answers are very similar in the way that they approach it. And so it's like, oh, okay, that's really powerful. So I would recommend to always be a lifelong learner. Like it doesn't matter what industry we think we're really experienced in or really knowledgeable in, there's always something to learn. And my little gold book. No one steal it.
It might have some gold nuggets in there that we can use. And I do recall you saying when we were over in Anaheim that you didn't think you were going to participate again this year. Are you?
That wasn't a sole loser thing, by the way.
No.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm actually going through one of the most challenging personal experiences of my life right now. It's calling upon a lot of courage and a lot of resilience in my life. And with a lot that's going on, it took a lot of courage even to come today. And I've been sitting with, what do I want of my life, and what do I want next for me in my chapters? And one of the things that might happen is I might move overseas, which might mean not being here at the district. And I'm just sitting with that at the moment. It's quite a difficult decision because D73 is like my family, and it's a challenging decision. So I can't confirm or deny yet. whether or not I will be competing, or if I compete in a different district, maybe. But I'm not sure yet.
Well, I'd say there'd be a few people here who would be happy competing. However, look, I do know, you just have the best attitude. After they made the announcements and you weren't one of those two people going forward, you'd still have this beautiful smile on your face, and you were still so happy to have represented District 73 over there, and you were proud of what you did. You had every right to be proud because you gave just the best version of the speech that we'd seen before. So, there was never any indication there that you weren't happy.
Yeah, thank you. I just told myself I'd leave that stage. I just wanted to deliver the best, most heartfelt version of that speech and connect to the most people. And the amount of people I had come up to me after saying that it was so close and that it made such a difference to them, like it was a topic that they really needed. I had 2 people come up to me saying that they're really rocky right now in their life, and that message helped them to think about, well, what does like little me want? Like, what do I actually want of life? And it was just beautiful. I had people throughout the days afterwards coming up to me and, wanting to connect and to really saying they loved the message. So that was amazing. Yeah. And it really was a tough contest. If anyone checks out contest in Group 2, it was another level. They were extraordinary speakers.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah.
Who was in it?
Yeah. So, essentially, it's a bit of a luck of the draw. 28 speakers, we get divided into 4 groups, and each group has obviously amazing speakers, but they wouldn't be at the top 28. But there are often groups that are stronger overall and consistently stronger. And I would say every contestant in Contestant Group 2 was consistent and high level and could have been to the finals. So it was just the luck of the draw, getting put into the highest level group. And 2 years ago, Nashville, that happened as well. So now I'm like, what's going on here? But yeah, it was an amazing experience anyway, because it was like, well, if I got to 11, I got to compete against the best of the best. It's like, well, how amazing. The 2 that got through was Mark and Hannah. And Hannah spoke about saying no. And it actually got very emotional because, also for a lot of women, finding it hard to say no, but men as well. And she was very vulnerable in sharing that. And a message that can be a bit uncertain to share on the stage, but she shared it and she made it funny, and it was, very relatable. And Mark was talking about loving each other like a mama, in the way that we all have that motherly love and to connect. And he's a very strong speaker, and he's been in the finals before. So, both of them were incredible speakers. So I was proud of them.
And Hannah went on to win 2nd place in the World Championship. So that validated, I guess, their choice there. And Mark was one of the ones who was disqualified by a couple of seconds. So, pretty amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was incredible.
It was a powerful lineup of contestants.
Yeah, it was close. A lot of people were sitting there going, we don't know what the results were. Yes. Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to share with the audience?
I would just say, if any of you are thinking about competing, whether it's table topics, evaluation, humorous, or international, please go for it. It's not about the trophy or winning at all. The amount of learning and the way I've come home to myself over the years has been extraordinary. And just the feedback from the audience too, or realizing, oh my gosh, that's a message that matters. And then taking it out of Toastmasters and sharing with the children, or doing it as a work speech or whatever else. So it doesn't stop at Toastmasters. It's a journey that we can then take away and help a lot of people in the world. And I would just say we need more authentic speakers and leaders now than ever. And a good thing about, I feel, the way that Toastmasters is going more and more now, the contests, is this need for radical vulnerability and authenticity. And so if we can get up there and do speeches and feel like we're actually delivering from our true self, that's something that the world needs. So definitely go and do the contests.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great advice, Jody. And how about we throw to the audience for a question or two? You up for it?
Sure, all right.
Okay. Yeah. Does anybody have a question they'd like to ask Jody? When are you moving? Is that the question?
Firstly, have you had a dream lately?
You're like, hopefully not.
I was thinking the next dream should be that she gets into the easiest semi.
Oh, yes. I mean, 3rd time lucky, right? They put me in the hardest job in the road.
Yeah.
In Toastmasters, we do speeches, which is often storytelling, but it doesn't have to be. It can be an opinion piece, an educational, it can be anything. what I've noticed is that the speeches that go furthest, there always seem to be stories.
Yeah.
All the finalists. Can you see any non-story meaning? Or do you think it really has to be a non-story?
It's a good question. I mean, anything is possible. I would say and highly recommend storytelling, because especially at the international level, we're going to an audience that wants to be entertained. They want to be taken on a journey. And our brains as humans are hardwired for storytelling. You know, when we were in the early days sitting around the fire, we learned how to survive in life by telling stories. So we connect and we learn and we remember speeches through stories. And the speeches that often went through are the ones that are the most memorable. And the ones that are most memorable are the ones that stories that we can connect to. And so I would highly recommend stories, and they often have a very similar process too with the storytelling as well. And it's, just making sure that we're connecting to the audience specifically, because there's stories that I would tell in my speaking in life in general, but I wouldn't tell on the Toastmasters stage, but I wouldn't feel like it would connect perhaps to that particular audience or whatever else. So it's not only storytelling, but it's what stories will actually connect to that specific audience. And there's more of a US-based audience in semis and finals too, so that's something to keep in mind.
And thanks for that question, Neil. And you've listened to many, many speeches in your quest, in your research. How many hundreds of speeches?
Don't know. Yeah, I've watched some of them multiple times too. Shout out to Aaron Beverly. I love Aaron. He's just amazing, and his speech is hilarious. Melvin and I've watched maybe 5 times, and each time we're still laughing with tears in our eyes. Like, it's just, it's great.
Yep. So, from all that you've watched, it's about storytelling.
Yeah.
Or maybe we could delve. Okay, this will be maybe the last one because we're on the red light. Delve into the overacting. What do you think about some of the speakers who do that?
I'm having hope, and I'll put officially out there, that Toastmasters will go more and more down the authentic and heartfelt, genuine route, because there has been a time where people started going through who are mostly not saying they weren't deserving to go through, absolutely, but just it didn't feel like it was their heart. It felt like it was their body language. It was more just the acting. And I feel that in Toastmasters, the whole point of going up and doing a story is to connect deeply and to share something that matters. And so my hope is that it becomes less about overacting and dramatization and more about an actual speech that's about the story and the heart. And so that's why, I was very proud when I got the feedback that I was one of the most authentic and genuine and heartfelt speeches out of my group. I was like, that's amazing, because that's all I wanted, was to leave that stage not feeling like I got up there and I was acting, but I was actually reliving what I was sharing. So that was a really proud, moment. So I have hope that that's the way we will go.
We do too, I think, as an Australian audience. Perhaps. All right. Well, thank you, Jody, for sharing all of that with us. Thank you for coming along today. Obviously, it's been a long journey and not the easiest of weeks for you. So thank you so much for having the courage to come here today and share all of your ideas with us and your story.
Thank you.
Can I reiterate what Judy has said? Thanks so much for coming, and particularly the courage that it took to come today is absolutely fantastic. You did a beautiful job. I'm sure we all benefited from hearing that. Thank you also to the trio. You were great. It was wonderful, David, Janine and Vijay. And this woman here, so put it all together. Now that about wraps it up, I might ask Marlene just to press the button on the screen. That's the next education and training series, and that's inside the mind of a judge. Now that beautiful work is done from Elaine Doyle, my newest best friend, because she's amazing. And so she's getting up a great promotion so that we can promote what we're doing. And we will have Jackson Green, and he's going to be interviewing 3 judges, Daryl Clark from South Australia, Greer McGeary and Kate Press. So we've got a pretty national spread happening there. There'll be a mock contest. Contestants only known to a couple of people, and they will have a look at the ballots in this mock contest from Daryl, Greer and Kate. So if you can come along, do. If you can't come along, do not worry, because it will all be recorded and you can just access it from the education and training section of the D73 webpage. I think on that note, that's enough from me. And I'm going to hand over to David to close. Please welcome David Martin.
And before I do close, a couple of things. One of them was, one of the highlights was they have a Hall of Fame presentation, and I got to pick this trophy up on behalf of, show of hands, who did club officer training this year. I got to pick this up on your behalf because this is given to districts that achieve a certain percentage of club officers trained. So many that are on Zoom. Kevin Broughton was the district director last year who pulled all that together. The PQD gets up on stage to get that, and I received it from Mairead Matheson, last year's international president. It's a huge, huge honour, but as I say, it's on behalf of every person whose hand just went up, so I thank you. And the other great honour is many districts don't manage to maintain as many members in clubs. However, District 73 achieved a very high number of clubs that had more than 20 members. And so I received this trophy, this certificate, on behalf of Kevin Broughton.
Oh. Beautiful.
And it's called the President's 20 Plus Award. And it says, in recognition of successfully motivating clubs to achieve and maintain charter strength with 20 plus members. So that's for Kevin. If he had been here today, he'd have had it. And it was a great honour receiving that. So thank you, Kevin. I believe Kevin is on a road trip with his daughter and his wife doing a Father's Day weekend. So he may not be on live, but he'll see the recording. And I hope he's as honoured to receive it as I was to pick it up for him. So on that note, I would like to thank everybody that came today, everybody who logged on to Zoom. I'd like to thank Janine, Judy, Annie, Elise, Jody, of course, and I'm just so grateful that we have a function like this to come to. So thank you very much.
Excellent.